First, I will have to ask, I mean, it is a genre show, which is not something people assume when they think of you and your roles.
No.
You know, they think heavy drama. What attracted you to stepping into the genre side of things?
Well, you're absolutely right when you say that. It's not something I ever assumed. It's not a genre that I ever thought I'd be involved in. But it's only because of Andrew Kreisberg and Greg Berlanti, meeting up with them in New York City, sitting down and watching them be so geeked about it, and seeing so clearly me in the show, more so than I ever could have, that convinced me. I was like, well, I mean, they think I'm awesome, and they think I would fit in this perfectly, so why wouldn't I? And once I read it, I was like, I think I can do this. I think I can do this. And now that I'm in it, I'm so glad I made that decision because it's so awesome.
Yeah.
It's so awesome.
I mean, it is, you know, as much as it is a genre show, it is in your wheelhouse because you are playing a detective.
Yeah.
But you're playing a dad and a detective.
Which
What is that dynamic like with Iris on screen?
Well, as an actor, it's a whole lot of fun because I'm not just the facts man, you know, that
Sure.
kind of thing. You know, I actually, you know, have to use my head, heart, soul, all that stuff, you know, not just be a cop. But dealing with Iris in this situation, you know, there's constant worry for Joe, you know. Not only is my daughter young and beautiful and out there in the world, and I have to sort of let her go because she's a young girl, she's hanging out with my son, my adopted son, who just so happens to be, you know, this phenomenal metahuman all of a sudden, who keeps getting into trouble and meeting all these other evil metahumans. My daughter is oblivious to all of that, so I'm trying to protect his secret, protect him from getting himself killed, and keeping my daughter out of the equation so that she doesn't end up getting hurt.
Right. It's a lot. You're juggling a lot.
Juggling a lot. Not to mention, like, what's her love life? What's going on there?
True.
Who's she hanging with?
True.
You know, you're always a dad no matter how old she gets.
Yeah.
You know, so I have to watch her in all angles and pretend that I'm not watching her at all.
Well, I mean, you did just admit that he finds out about Barry. You know, I know that because I've seen the pilot.
Yeah.
But that I think adds an extra level too, because if he didn't know, he might be worrying about Barry just from that, you know, foster father type of situation. Now that he does know, does he do you feel like there's a moment where he feels like maybe he's a little bit more my equal because he can do things that I never expected? I still see him as a kid.
No.
Okay.
He's still a kid.
Okay.
He's totally still a kid. Yes, you can run really fast, and that's awesome. Which means that you could probably get next to a criminal. What are you going to do once you catch him?
Okay. Okay, so do you feel like that's a point where Joe should step in and train him and say, like, let me give you some of the tools and the skills that I have to make you safe?
Part of the detective in me says you're right. Yeah, I should give him some skills so that as the Flash, he can deal with these things. But the dad in me doesn't want him to do any of that stuff. Like, yes, you can run really fast, so go to the Olympics. Like, don't fight crime.
I feel like that's cheating, but okay.
You're really, it is totally cheating, but like, you're really, really good at forensics and those things. You can figure those things out without a problem. You're really good at that job. Stick to that job. It's safe. It'll keep you alive. It'll keep you safe. It'll keep me from worrying so much. But of course, this doesn't make an interesting story, so he has to do what he has to do. Heroes are called upon.
Now, what's the balance like in terms of the scripts that you're reading, seeing Joe with his daughter at home versus on the job investigating cases separate from Barry, and then also the third element of maybe working with Barry? Is there a little bit of everything?
There's definitely a little bit of everything, but because we're doing a show about these metahumans and superheroes and all that stuff, I'm definitely more doing I start off thinking that I'm dealing with regular cases, like a regular detective. And then, of course, there's always a superhero / metahuman element to it. So none of my cases turn out to be normal, as far as I can tell.
Okay. Now, for you as an actor, what are you doing anything differently in terms of preparing for those types of cases? Because it's not like you could just research something. They're not ripped from the headlines.
I know, that's the best part about it. I mean, the only thing it's funny because I'm doing actually the opposite, which is I can't do too much research because I don't want to know that much.
Okay.
You know, Joe is a guy on the ground. He's not a metahuman. He's just a regular dude with a gun who happens to also have a badge. Like, he's seeing it just like the audience is seeing it. You know, oh my God, what is that? How do we stop it? What do we do? You know, he's that guy. So the less I know, the better. If I know too much, I'll start thinking and get crazy.
Okay. Is that an entry point, though, do you feel like, for the audience? Like, is he kind of, does he say things that maybe the audience is thinking?
Yes, I hope so.
Okay.
I mean, that's certainly what I'm going for.
Okay.
I think that's what the producers and Andrew and the gang are going for.
Right.
But yes.
Okay. Great. Well, it was great to talk to you. Thank you so much.